Well, I'm gonna just jump in with a quick good afternoon to everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Meredith Dixon. I'm an educational program coordinator with the Hawaii, and in that role, I'm the professional staff leader for the Small College University Network. Um, and so we are typically joined by the network chairs. I haven't seen them pop on today, but I know we're in the beginning of a new semester for folks, so they may be detained, as we know happens occasionally. But with that, I know, like I said, we're in a new year. I think some folks have moved around and have new experiences. So if we want to do some quick introductions to folks, and then I do have, I think we had just one question that was submitted in advance, but we want to just kind of say hello and tell people where we're at. Then we can kind of get into some open chatting and see what's on folks' minds this new year. I don't know if someone wants to kick us off.
I'll start since I'm unmuted. Jess Schweitzer, and I, since June, have been at Center College in Danville, Kentucky, as the Director of Residence Life and Housing.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brian. I'm the Assistant Director of Housing and Residence Life at the University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maureen Islip from Wesleyan University. I'm the Director of Residential Life here, and we are in Connecticut.
Hey, my name is Patrick Vetter. I'm at the University of Richmond and Richmond, Virginia, where I'm the Director of Residence Life and Housing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robin Gagno. I work at Baldwin Wallace University, just outside of Cleveland, Ohio.
I joined late.
Hi. Oops, sorry.
I don't know who's gone
Debbie.
or not. So I'm Debbie Kolstad at Lewis Clark State College in Lewiston, Idaho.
I'm Liz Holt. I'm at Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I live. Whew. I'm an assistant director of residence life doing housing here.
Hi, I'm Marcella Snyder. I'm the executive director of housing and student life at West Liberty University in the Northern Panhandle of West Virginia.
I think that got us everyone, if I'm looking at all my squares correctly on my screen. So welcome everyone. Like I said, I can start with the question that was submitted to us. I'm happy to let people just jump in. I know there's lots on people's minds at this start of the school year, but so if someone has something, feel free to jump in, but if not, I'll just slowly pull up the question that was submitted so that I can ask it. And it looks like this one maybe came from Jess about ADA accommodations and what folks are doing and what that is looking like on people's campuses.
And I can give a little more of a background. So ADA accommodations are solely done through my office here. And we have some students that have some really interesting needs. And one in particular, the student has multiple diagnoses that impact their access to the halls and whatnot. And one of them is, I'm going to give the wrong diagnoses. It deals with their ability to learn new tasks from a muscle memory aspect. And so they're really struggling with learning how to swipe a card to get into the building. And we have tried many things. I think we have a new solution, but every time I think we have one, something falls through with it. Right now, we've given them a permanent key to the building to get in, and it only works on the door near their room. So I'm hoping it'll be successful. But I want to be prepared. So has anyone had anything like that? Because this was a new one for me. I had not learned this before or seen it.
So the issue is access to swiping their card.
Yeah, the issue is they're learning the ability of swiping their card is very difficult. And then another diagnosis they have is they have an ASD diagnosis. So then they get frustrated when they don't get it right the first time, and it kind of spirals for them. And so I'm hoping that having the key will help them, give them access to their building while they learn that skill. But it was a new one for me. I have not had a student who the act of learning something that requires muscle memory is extremely difficult for this individual.
The one thing I can think of is we've had students for who, during Shabbat can't use something electronic. And so for them, we have issued keys in the past.
I'm sorry, friends. I'm also the only one in the class or in the office.
So one thing I can think of that's similar with a stretch is when we got people who have not been able to swipe their car. It's been mostly our students who are sight impaired or fully blind, but they know where their room is, they know where the entry door is. We've installed basically the garage door openers, automatic entry openers, and they have a remote. And actually, I keep their backups in my office. So it's only issued to them, and they press it and it opens the door for them to enter both their building and their actual room. Again, it's, doing what you can do, what is necessary and reasonable and things of that nature. But we went with that instead of going backwards to issuing keys to doors. So
that's awesome.
Probably not a financially feasible thing for just one student, but as we're updating our card access systems, we're moving to Prox cards. To the chip.
That's what we're planning to do next year. And I was like, oh, could we do it sooner? It's just not feasible for this year.
And we did have to do it. We had one building that the old system went down, so we did have to go ahead and do it. So you could, the company that we're using, we're able to do just one at a time for that reason. So it might be something. And we have our card access cards they have both the chip in them and the swipe for students both. So.
Well, thanks, friend. That's helpful.
Well, that was our only officially submitted question. So I'll open the floor to folks if they have something that's on their mind or they want to talk through some of those fun things we were discussing at the beginning of how opening went, move in, how people are getting settled on campus.
Can I just ask if anybody uses StarRes? We're in the onboarding process and would love to be able to kind of maybe reach out sometimes or talk offline. Thank you both.
We're not there yet. We use Mercury, so we'll be there very soon.
We've been on it since 2012, maybe. It's been a while, yeah.
We've had it since 2010, I think. There are still some issues we're ironing out at this point. But anything we can do to help, absolutely.
We just the most notable thing for us this year, we cut the cable cord finally this summer. And we were afraid of the backlash, and we've had 0 comments. The students are not missing it.
We did that as well. We went to a streaming service, Apogee, that's geared towards residence halls.
Yeah, we didn't even do that. We use Apogee, but we didn't even go to the streaming service because everything that we've read says that they're not even using that. So we're using our resources to bolster the Wi-Fi in the residence halls, and people seem to be very happy with that.
We've had a lot of luck with the ResNet, the Wi-Fi through Apogee. It's been a huge improvement from what we had before.
Oh yeah, that's who we have doing ours. I mean, we shifted our resources from one side of the house to the other, and our students are so much happier with the Wi-Fi now.
Well, if I can ask, and no one here may have this happening, but in your state, the state of West Virginia passed, that will start July 1st of next year, a campus carry law. And so obviously there are a lot of things we are considering and trying to work through right now. And some of the policy even contradicts itself at the state level. But do any of you have states where there is a campus carry law, and would you be willing to be a resource? Nobody has it. You're just so lucky.
Marcella, are you saying that like the concealed carry, like the age is 18?
Yes.
Yeah, in the state of Kansas, which is where I'm at, that law changed a couple of years ago. And so yes, we do have students who live in the residence halls and are on campus carrying guns.
Okay. So I could reach out to you and pick your brain a little.
Yep, sure can. I'll put my email in the chat here if that's okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure thing.
So Idaho has it, but they have some restrictions around carrying in residence halls and larger venues. So we don't have the issue in the halls. Our public safety has a gun safe, and students can keep their guns there.
Yeah, this state law actually requires, in one part of the law, it says that we are required to provide them a storage space in a residential facility. But then we also provide storage lockers for people that don't live on campus. And then it also, in a separate part, says they can't have it in their rooms, but we may be required to provide them with a safe for their rooms. So even the law is contradictory and doesn't make sense, but we're just spending a lot of time talking about how we can prepare for it.
Yeah, Marcella, one of the differences that when you and I chat later about it, one of the differences is that the student is responsible for the containment and safety, making sure that their stuff is in a lockbox at all time. I mean, it's supposed to be on them. It's supposed to be, if it's concealed carry, you're supposed to have it with you and in your possession and or locked up at all times. So it's up to the student to maintain that safety. And if they don't, then they'll be in violation. But we actually in the residence halls still don't, that's just for handguns. We don't allow long guns of any kind, no rifles. And we, in our university police, do not store those officially. We do have, since we're in Kansas and we do have a lot of local students, will have people who hunt regularly and will ask university police sort of off the record if they would store it for them and would hold it until they go on break or something like that. But it's where they may not be able to actually, they're not planning on going back home to hunt, but they're planning on going somewhere else to hunt, and so they may hold that and have an agreement with a student, but it's not a formalized process, and it's not something they really want to advertise because they don't have the resources to do that consistently. But we don't allow long guns in the residence halls, but handguns for 18 and older are allowed, but you are supposed to have it contained. No one would know you even have it, and we only have had one issue since then, and it was with a handgun in a vehicle, not actually in the residence halls. So
okay. Yeah, I have to, because I do the housing, but I also do our student conduct, so kind of have to look at both sides of it to prepare. So thank you, I appreciate it.
I just put in the chat there for you some language from Ohio University that I think is a good way to distinguish of the law versus student conduct and employee policies. So I don't know if that'll be helpful with the different parameters where you're at, but
no, they are not allowing the university to make any distinction from their law. It's been in the discussion for several years. But this year it was passed. So, and we have to abide by what they say. We cannot set different policies.
I do not envy you. That's all I've got.
It's you know, everybody keeps bringing up, oh well, if there's an active shooter, people can defend, and I'm like, yeah, but we have had so many mental health issues, and if they take pills, we can usually get to them in time. If they cut themselves, we can get to them. This is an end game that we can't save from, and that's my bigger issue and bigger concern, because we have seen such an increase in the mental health issues and concerns that I don't feel good about it.
We used to store on campus at Campus Police, and they decided to stop that because we did have a death on campus from mental health issues and gun. So I'm right there with you. That sounds terrible. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When it first popped up, it was the week that they were going to be voting on it. There was a school shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School, and this discussion stopped immediately. So we kind of hoped that they would look at that and go, this may not be the best idea to have young people with guns in this environment. And same thing happened the next year. Things were happening in the media and this year finally, I think this was the fourth time it was on the discussion, and it went through.
I was curious, this is a complete aside and it's not even housing related. Well, it is housing related, just in general to the field. I'm not sure if folks have seen, I'm Lewis, I'm at Vassar College, and Vassar College has been recently named in a suit by 5 female faculty members for difference in pay and pay equity issues. So there's a curiosity about what's happening at Vassar. It's over in a variety of news outlets already, including an article in Inside Higher Education. Has ACUHO done any research on gender pay equity themselves? Do we know if there's any information out there? Is that something that, I know we report in a housing index, but I don't think we were reporting salaries.
I know there's some salary information in the campus housing index. I don't know that we have any gender markers associated with that. I doubt that we do. That is an interesting topic there.
It's certainly a little bit more complicated than what is out there. So I can't really say too much more. But it did get me thinking about, on average, right, women are paid less than men, right? And so I'd be curious to see if that plays out in our profession. I imagine that we might see some more consistency at the entry level, and then we may be seeing some greater discrepancies at director and executive director levels. Much of what that the faculty are pointing to here, right? Much smaller gaps exist at assistant professor levels, associate, but much more significant gaps exist in the aggregate. This is not without taking other factors into account with folks with more experience. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting case, but again, a curiosity around that. We're also dealing with some student protests on our campus now in support of their faculty, which I don't even know, like, our students are like, they're incredible. They work with us on their protests, so they let us know they were protesting. They wanted to make sure that they were clear on like safety rules and regulations and make sure that everybody was okay. They had their chance and they were organized and allowed us to help them with it. So all good. A general curiosity, maybe in terms of institutions that, in terms of like, we also hire students. I don't think we didn't send out any communication to our Res Life teams. Here we call them house teams, in terms of, to not participate. But do folks have particular regulations for their hired student teams around engaging in either protests and or petitions that are going around?
We don't in my current role. My last role, we had something that said they could participate, but when they spoke, they could not speak on behalf of the department. They could only speak on behalf of themselves as an individual. And so they essentially, they could not say, I as an RA, blah, 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 blah. They could say, I as a student, or I as a member of this community. And so it was us trying to find that middle ground to try to prevent them from speaking for the department, and also allowing them to speak for themselves.
Awesome. Thank you for that. This is another thing back related to Res Life stuff. Is anyone using I think it's called Housing Cloud, or a new software for residents? Like, it's not StarRes, it's not Simplicity or Residence. I think it's called the Housing Cloud or something like that. Anyone familiar with it?
Housing Cloud is a new company as of 2022. They have reached out to us as well, I'm guessing. And so we are looking at maybe making a change in our housing software. We're using StarRes right now. We're literally in those talks right now. What platforms is other people using? I think Brian said Adirondack. And then what other platforms are you guys using?
We don't.
Okay.
We have Colleague, and we just download rosters from there and we assign within Colleague. We're not even using the housing. Yeah. Not even using the housing section of Colleague. We're just kind of wing it. It's horrible. But we only have 450, so we don't have a ton. So my assignments person does them all by hand.
At least that's a manageable number, but it does still sound like it would be terrible.
We use Simplicity here, residents.
Okay.
I don't like it. Like I have created, like, there is someone here who gets it and does it, and it's like has job security. But if I lost that person, if they were ever out sick at a crucial time, no one would know exactly what to do. And that's scary. And there's something about Housing Cloud, at least in terms of what they are saying, right, is that it easy to train on, easy to use, a bit more intuitive. It's like it has, I want to say it served us well for our purposes. It's not an intuitive software, and it doesn't adjust its visuals to what you're using, right? So if you're using it on a phone, it still looks like a web page on your computer. I forgot there's a language for that, for sites that are adaptable to the thing that they're watching it on. And so it just looks like something from like 2000, not 2023. But I'm hopeful. And I don't know, Elizabeth, but one of the things that at least, we're in conversation as well. We're not anywhere near to like thinking about signing just yet. But what was interesting for me was the reason we've been with Simplicity for as long is because it's just much more affordable than StarRes. And I think the Housing Cloud might be a little bit more expensive than Simplicity Residence, but it's going to be much less expensive than StarRes.
Yeah, it's about half, or almost half. Yeah. We like the tagging feature. So essentially, like, if a student's typing in, information about themselves, some of it will automatically populate a tag. So like if they say, like, I have an ESA will pop in. I enjoy hockey, the hockey will pop in. So that helps kind of find roommates. But it also helps find, like, for the administrators to like pull, like, I need all the people who have ESAs. They can pull a list of that, and the student can self tag, and then the administrators can tag too. So that was something that we were like, this is awesome. And then because it's such a new company, they're like, this is brand new software. They're not building upon what they've been using forever. So that's kind of what StarRes is doing. Which makes sense, because it's like, as they're adding something new, their customers don't have to relearn it all. But it's clunky because they're building upon what they had before, so it's not always as user friendly as we might want them to be. Robin, you had said that you all use eRes Life. How do you feel about it?
Wow. First couple years, I think we had some transitional issues. But fortunate our housing manager is able to work with them. They weren't as it wasn't as user friendly as we thought it was going to be, but I think now that we have a lot more involvement in it, because we use it for not just housing, but we use it for all our forms for check-in, check-out. It's gotten easier for us because our staff has utilized it more in different ways. But it took a while for us to get to that timeline of being able to use it effectively.
Gotcha. Yeah, we've got Banner. So since they're under the same company, I was like, well, we probably should look at that because it'll communicate well with Banner. But yeah, still kind of looking at what else to look at. So Jess, how about your team? How do they feel about it?
So we are just now implementing.
Okay.
And so I'm actually the one that has the most eRes Life knowledge because I used it at a past institution. But because we've done everything by hand here, and we are a Genzabar school, and they're using Genzabar, if anyone even remembers this, because I thought it was legitimately, I thought it had gone away, CX, which is like 20 million years old, for SIS. In fact, they've told us that we have a year to get out of there because they will not support it moving forward. So we're in the process of upgrading that. But because of that, my staff view eRes Life as this amazing tool, and they're really excited about it. And I have really enjoyed it. And at my last institution, there were a couple of things that I knew it was somehow how we had implemented something, but it wasn't so high on the priorities to figure out why it was working the way it was. That I had concerns about, that I now understand because I've gone through the implementation point here, and I'm like, oh, we just literally needed to change a setting, and that would have changed. And had I actually just sent a quick email, would have had the answer. I like that they will get back to me within an hour, typically, if I'm emailing during their business hours, and because because their staff are working from home and on different schedules, they actually cover more than what my business hours. So I really like that. And they don't charge me every time I ask a dumb question. That part makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their service is included in the cost we pay for the implementation. So I like that.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Lewis, for posing that, because I wasn't thinking about it.
Any other questions from the group? I thought I heard someone unmute, but I don't see it. So maybe I was just hearing things.
I'm doing some benchmarking right now on live-in policies and rights of live-in staff. Do you all have policies written that you would be willing to share?
What kind of policies again?
Yeah, can you be more specific?
Mostly in general, because I don't know that we actually have anything written. But like live on policy with dependents and spouses, pet. Those are the ones I'm focusing on right now, but I want to get into like what are the rights of our live-in staff members, because I feel like we kind of get pushed around a little bit. And so wanting to make sure that people are in knowledge of what their rights are living on campus. So that's something like long-term that I'm working on. But right now it's more of just the policies in general and establishing those on campus and, getting those written.
So here at Center, we actually have a lease that every live on staff member signs. And that's primarily because right now, currently, I'm the only staff member in Residence Life that lives on campus, but we have a lot of other staff that live on campus. My position is only for this year while I live on, and then I will get to move off campus for the first time ever. I'm excited. But we have an assistant director that lives on that's vacant. And so I think because of that, our lease is written more from a lens of a renting standpoint, because we do have staff who do rent from the college. But other than that, we don't really have much in writing. That is what I've spent the last 3 months putting everything in writing, and I will continue to do for the rest of my life. Yeah,
Elizabeth, are you looking for something like what Jess noted, like a live-in agreement? Because we have those.
Yeah, to start off with.
I'll put my email in the chat.
Ooh, sweet. Or I can put my email in as well.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I think for me, it would be helpful to understand maybe like what the challenges were. And I think you mentioned some of those, but kind of what the challenges are, because I feel like it's with our live-in staff, I mean, it's part of their employment contract. They have to live on campus. And so I don't really know what issues you're running into, but there's not much written that I can think of for us. And maybe we just haven't experienced some of the things that you're experiencing, that when you kind of say like being pushed around or taken advantage, some phrasing like that, what exactly is happening that maybe I could find in our paperwork that might help answer the question. But I'm, I might need to talk after this to kind of get like maybe some idea of what that actually looks like.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's talk after. Cool. Thank you.
I'm going to do a final call for one last question, because what I should have started the meeting with, it was a reminder. We at Kuhai are hosting our best of showcase series this week, and so we have a call that kicks off at 1 o'clock, and I want to make sure those presenters have a few minutes before the 1 o'clock hour to get in and get situated. So we've got about 5 more minutes if someone has a last thought, a last question for the group.
No, there's Elizabeth just kind of bringing up the kind of I don't know if Bill of Rights is the right word, but it does sound like something maybe to take back to the executive board at Aku Hawaii, and kind of just mention that this has come up for us, and wondering if there's some kind of collective wisdom that we can help generate a much broader conversation about that. I don't think I've always thought about like the responsibilities and the privileges, or like the compensation package, but I don't think I've ever framed it as like, these are rights that, our older adults who live in have, which is, I think, a profound conversation for us to have, like as a profession. And I'd be curious to sort through like what that looks like in the end, for us.
My plan is definitely to share what I learn. But I feel like this is going to be more of a long-term project than I think I was originally anticipating. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
Good stuff.
Well, the last thing I want to share, as we get close to the end of 2023, believe it or not, is we are looking for some volunteers to join us and to be in cahoots with Luis here, as a volunteer for our small college network. Also lots of other opportunities if there's other networks and committees that you're interested in. So I've just put that link there for you. But we have that application open for a few more weeks through October 5th. So if you're considering a volunteer opportunity with the Kuhai, lots of information there for you, and just in general information about a lot of our networks and things. So wanted to share that out. And with that, again, any final thoughts from folks? But I'm glad folks were able to tune in this afternoon. It's always great to see folks. And I wrote some notes, so I'm going to see what I can find out about the pay information that we have, the salary information, and what kind of breakdown we might have. Don't know that we'll have it with gender, but I wonder if we can compare, you know, that entry level and director level piece with pay and with gender in those positions, and maybe extrapolate something from that. But yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks
All
for
right.
holding this.
Yeah. See you in a month.